24 years ago today, we had some great weather, and then certainly everything darkened. So if we can take just a moment to reflect upon that and kind of lift up in our own way the families affected by that. We were really all affected by that. And then you add on last night's, yesterday's tragedy with the Charlie Kirk assassination. It just makes you question freedoms, and both things are, as Rotarians, we celebrate peace, and we certainly can reflect upon the need for peace. Providing our invocation today is David Graves. He's retired from children's psychiatric health care.
Right here.
Okay.
I would like to begin our prayer today with the first verse of a hymn I heard sung at Chautauqua this summer. Oh, for a world where everyone respects each other's ways, where love is lived and all is done with justice and with praise. Creator and giver of life to all, guide our feet that we may walk in the light of peace. Guide our hands that we may stretch them out to those in need. Guide our eyes that we may see the things that unite us with all the peoples of the world. Guide our ears that we may hear the weeping of those who mourn. Guide our tongues that we may speak with kindness. Guide our dreams that we may see hope in the future, even during times of despair. Guide our thoughts that we may learn to create positive change. Above all, Lord, guide our hearts that we may love others, seek justice, and live humbly. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, David. Natalie's pledge and four-way test is David Dick, the Director of Tax Services at Dean Dorton, and a major donor.
Would you join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, the four-way test.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, David. Doing David's today.
That's it.
Happy birthday today to Kristen Boone, a Boone board member, and Laurie Benninger. Not sure I saw either one, but that's pretty cool. Happy anniversary to Mitch Rue. I did see Mitch 16 years ago, I believe this week. Somewhere in this time frame, Mitch joined Rotary. It was somewhere in the beginning of September. So he's been a great Rotarian for 16 years. Before we get to our Rotary guest, Ken Grossman, come on out. We started this last week, and I asked Ken to tell us a little bit about himself. This is a celebrating Rotary members. He said he'd keep it in 2 minutes.
This is what you get when you make a suggestion. I'm honored to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in Rotary for 25 years. I served on the board of directors when Randy Coe and Kevin Wardell were president. I actually ran for president in 2021, and I was very fortunate that Walt Kuno was running against. Walt was much more prepared to be president, and I was honored to serve as vice president that year. I just want to mention a couple things about Rotary that I really enjoy. Is that all right? Okay. I participated in the wine swap this year. It was at Jeff Underhill's house. It was awesome. I think that's an annual event and something I would encourage you to do. You get to know other Rotarians in a social setting. It's a lot of fun. Another thing I really enjoyed is Craig Sherman has an annual event in the spring. He's got a beautiful pool. He's got incredible artwork. It's a great experience to go. One of the best benefits for me for Rotary has been the people I've met. I'm going to leave a lot of people out, but I just want to mention three that have meant a lot to me. Henry Heiser, who's one of the largest philanthropists in town, quite an interesting person. Alan Parnell, Mr. P. Express, Alice Bridges, former president, and there's so many others. I'm sorry for whoever I left out, but it's just been a wonderful experience for me to be a Rotarian. A couple of the activities that I like, volunteer activities, reading with the West End School that Walt leads every year, and in years past I was more involved with Rotary Honor Scholar program. So a little bit about me. I'm in the men's custom clothing business. I try to dress as well as our president. I'm a fourth generation clothier. My family owned a men's store by the name of Love and Hearts. We were in business actually dating all the way back to 1867 to 1995, and then I started my custom clothing business, which I call Executive Image, in 1996. I'm the only certified master custom clothier in the state of Kentucky, certified by the Custom Tailors Designers Association. Some of my clients over the years you might be familiar with. Coach Danny Crum, that red jacket, came from our men's store, Love and Arts. Coach Rick Pitino, and probably my favorite, who we recently lost, Junior Bridgman. I worked with Junior for 25 years. But my biggest claim to fame was my son, Jack Grossman, who was a producer at ESPN Radio. And Jack, sometimes I'll be out in public and someone will say, "Oh, you're the closer. You're Jack Grossman's dad." That's who you are. So, at any rate, thank you for the time.
Happy silver anniversary. You're always the best dressed at Rotary, and your son was great Valley. Good guy. Yes.
Hi everyone, Maggie Harlow, this is Ira on the downtown. Have a guest today, have a few. Ashley Parker, Ashley, please stand up. She's owner of Harper Klein Real Estate and a great friend. Thanks for being here. Sarah Wolf with Global Olmsted Parks Conservancy, Director of Advocacy, please stand up. We're not friends, but we will be. I don't know, is Christine Brinkman here? Okay, well she's supposed to be here, and also Mo McKnight House supposed to be here, so I tried. All right.
All right, President Ken, fellow Rotarians, and distinguished honored guests, I have three guests with me today. So when I call your name, if you would stand, my first guest is Heather Lowe. Heather flew in last night from Dallas, Texas, because she heard the best Rotary Club in America was in Louisville. And Heather is currently holding the same position in Dallas, Texas that I hold here in Louisville. That is the interim executive director of the Dallas Library System. She wanted to come see what we were all about. Thank you, Heather. Guest is Virginia Lee. Virginia Lee has founded and runs Balanced Solutions. That is her company where she serves as a consultant for family foundations. Thank you, Virginia. And our third guest today is Regina Blake. Regina Blake is Chief of Staff of the Owsley Brown Foundation Family Foundations. Thank you.
President Ken, Kevin McCarron with Projection Creative here in Louisville. My guest today is Jessica McCarron. Why don't you stand up, Jess? My wife, mother of two, our teen children. She's also the Historic Projects Manager for Wayland Ventures. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sarah Hugenberg. I'm a relationship strategist with PNC Bank. And I have two guests with me today, Elizabeth Campbell Reitmeyer and Jill Johnson Keeney. And Elizabeth and Jill are both members of Happy Birthday Park, which if you don't know is an organization that celebrates the Hill Sisters, Louisville natives who compose the most sung song in the world, Happy Birthday. So let's welcome them.
Good afternoon, President Ken and Rotarians. Alyssa Gray, President and CEO of the Kentucky Humane Society. My guest is Katie Nelson, and she is the Director of Events at Waterfront Park and Childhood Program.
Good afternoon, President Ken, Rotarians, and guests. My guest is Farmer Hurt, a dear friend as well, and board member for Trees Louisville. Good afternoon, Mr. President, fellow Rotarians. I'm Deborah Belitsky, the Executive Director of Waterfront Park, and my guest today is Ashley Smith, who is the Director of Development at Waterfront Park.
Welcome to all of you. Glad you're here and hope you come back right after the meeting. This gentleman here, John Bush, is heading over to the What is Rotary table, and he can fill you in. Former president of our club back in 09 and 10. So he has a lot of wisdom. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out the recent Sparks newsletter. It's full of announcements and events. Please join us next Tuesday, September 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Hopatomica for Rotary Happy Hour. And then again on Tuesday, September 30th, 2 weeks later, for our sneak peek of the DOT experience. And then Saturday, October 4th, we'll be joining other Rotary clubs along the Ohio River for a litter cleanup event. Bring your family and friends and spend an hour or two in meaningful service. Be sure to save the date for our Thursday meeting, October 9th. Not only will our District Governor Dorsey Ridley be visiting our club, but we will also have a committee fair before and after our lunch meeting. So committee leaders, this is your chance to tell your story. You do a great job, and so do your members. You can recruit new members and volunteers. And all Rotarians, especially those who are not currently active with the committee, this is your chance to learn more about the options and where you might want to serve. Be sure to visit LouisvilleRotary.org and scroll all the way down to see all the Rotarians in the spotlight, as well as upcoming events and opportunities with member organizations. And don't forget to follow us online so you don't miss the content we hope to be posting. Quite a bit of. You'll find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and YouTube. We also have member groups set up on Facebook and LinkedIn where you can share information with each other about events and volunteer opportunities. Please, Sarah Hugenberg is going to come on up, and she's a relations strategist at PNC Bank and the vice chair of our very important speakers committee, and she's going to introduce today's speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to introduce Layla George. Layla is an accomplished executive with extensive experience in fundraising, board development, external relations, conflict resolution, strategy, and execution of organization vision and mission. During her successful 7-year run leading the Olmsted Parks Conservancy, she increased annual giving by 250%, tripled public funding, expanded the staff, diversified the board, and helped develop and execute a new strategic plan. No small task. She's excited to use her talents, big and small, to help other organizations. As a consultant, she has been tapped by Mayor Craig Greenberg to serve as project executive for the redevelopment of the Belvedere in downtown Louisville. Layla is excited to serve at the helm of this ambitious project, reimagining the 5.5-acre site into a space that will connect our community and showcase the best of what our city has to offer. She was awarded a full tuition scholarship for nonprofit executives from Vanderbilt University's Owen School of Business and graduated in May of 2018 with her master's in business administration. She's also a member of the Leadership Louisville class of 2014. Please join me in welcoming Layla to our Rotary Club.
I'm
Conservancy for a long time. There is no greater believer in the power of public spaces than me. They can mitigate the urban heat island effect, improve air and water quality, increase resiliency of communities, increase mental and physical health of those using the spaces, combat loneliness, spur economic activity. So I believe there is nothing that our government can do that provides as much value to as many people as investing in public spaces and parks. They punch above their weight in every way imaginable. And that is why I'm so excited to be a part of this project. I'm sure most of you know where the Belvedere is, but I do like to orient people to it. This is an outline of a 5.5-acre site. It's larger than I realized when I first started on this project. You can see it starts at Maine, goes all the way to the river, and has neighbors of the Otley Center, Kentucky Center for the Arts, the Galt House, and American Life Building. It can be accessed by the river now, although not very pleasantly or safely. So the primary entrance is off Main Street at the 5th Street intersection. But if you walk down that street today, it's really not very visible or inviting, and most people could walk down Main Street and not even know the river is there. If you zoom out a little bit, the Belvedere is the red star. You can see how close it is to many of the key downtown draws: the Young Center, Waterfront Park, the new Playport, Convention Center, and Museum Row. One other reason I like this photo is you can see the barge there, right there at Clark Memorial Bridge. So the barges make a big turn right there to get into McAlpin Locks, and it is one of the busiest inland commercial waterway stretches in the country. That is proving to be a little bit of a challenge when it comes to construction. What I used to think were these large planters with forsythia and different things, they are called dolphins. They are bollards, essentially, to protect the road from the major barges traveling there. So what I have found really interesting as I've kind of dug into this is the history of the site. So this is really where our city started. The Buffalo Crossed just downstream from the Belvedere site. It was a site of an early Indian mound, likely from the Adena tribe. Beargrass Creek used to flow out of here at 4th Street until it was rerouted further upstream. The wharf along the river here was really the center of our city. It's where the first commercial whiskey distillery in the entire state was, thanks to Evan Williams, who also happened to be the wharf master. And so when urban planners began to plot out our city, it is literally where it began. The American Life Building right behind is lot number 1. So there's been an intent to create a welcoming space here along the river for almost a century now. This is a plan done in 1931 by Bartholomew and Associates out of St. Louis. It was led by Harlan Bartholomew, who was the first urban planner in the U.S. This plan never materialized. The Great Flood came in 1937, so this never happened, obviously. Fast forward about 40 years, the city never abandoned this idea of a riverfront project here. So in the early 60s, urban renewal was full steam ahead. This entire area along the river, really from 2nd Street to 6th Street, was torn down to make way for development. A plan by Norman Berry was developed in the 60s for what was called Shippingport Square. You can see the ambitious plan here. Reynolds Metal and GE were both backers of the project, which also involved the Greek designer Doxiadis. Doxiadis was a famous Greek architect who was a contemporary of Mies van der Rohe, and the story goes they had a conversation during this time, and it was one of the reasons that Van der Rohe took on the American Life Building as a project. In 1967, Mr. Reynolds took Reynolds Metal, moved back to Richmond, Virginia. The money left town, and this plan never materialized. But the land had already been acquired by the city, and demolition had begun, and the city all of a sudden had no developer. Enter Archibald Cochran. He was a local community leader. He was chair of the Riverfront Commission, and he was tasked by Mayor Frank Burke to come up with a plan. He was a well-respected city leader, and he had no adjoining property interest. He just had a very genuine passion to connect people to the river. He had been to Paris and had seen how the city really embraced it, and he thought Louisville was missing a real opportunity here. In addition to moving this project forward, he also was a founder of Riverfields. So he worked with local architects, including Larry Malilla, who was really the primary architect for this plan, revising the Doxiadis plan to create the Belvedere Plaza over the garage. Then Cochran wanted someone to build a hotel to serve as an anchor tenant and hoping to encourage further development. After a little arm twisting by Cochran, Mel Schneider stepped up. So I love this picture here because you can see everything that was happening at one time. You You see the Galt House was being built. You see the 401 West Main office building was being constructed, the American Life building, the Interstate, and the Belvedere. This picture was probably taken in 1971, but all of those things were happening at the same time. And the result was a very beautiful mid-century modern design when it opened in 1973. The water features were beautiful, enjoyed by families, and indeed at the ribbon cutting, Mayor Frank Burke said the space was a gift to the children of Louisville. It was designed to be a place enjoyed by families to experience the river because at that time it was still very industrial along the waterfront. Here you can see that water feature that turned into an ice skating rink in the winter, which I have heard from many, many people who have fond memories of that. But by the mid-90s, the space was in rough shape and it really wasn't very well used. So Mayor Jerry Abramson spent some time and money to redo the Belvedere and bring some events back. At that point, some of the structures were already failing and leaking water, and all the original design was lost at that time. Indeed, if you wanted to build this right now, you wouldn't be able to because of the changes in codes and regulations. So here you can see the design that was put in by Abramson and his team in the mid-90s and still exists today. An ongoing problem then and now is that the plaza was designed for pedestrians, and many heavy vehicles had traversed the park and damaged all that concrete. So that caused water to seep in, and once water seeps in with concrete and freezes and thaws, you are off to the races when it comes to deterioration. So now we are at a point where the concrete must be repaired, the garage needs to be fixed, and while we're at it, we plan to reimagine the Belvedere once more. As you all know, when downtown thrives, our entire city and even state thrives. If you look at our budget right here for this current year, over half of our revenue is coming from occupational taxes, another almost 25% from property taxes. So that's 80% of the revenue that funds all city services across our county comes from those two buckets of revenue. If this project succeeds and is able to draw more people downtown to live and work and play, the potential for increased revenue is real. That then funds everything. So where does that money come from? This is a graphic that shows the percentage of occupational taxes coming from downtown versus any other zip code in town. The second highest bar right here is 40299, that's J-Town. And then the other graphic shows the percentage of revenue by acreage. So that's really looking at productivity per acre, and you can see that downtown punches above its weight from a revenue generating perspective. Then if you want to look at property tax, this is an image from Indianapolis. It's a visualization of their property value. So that purple spike that shoots way up is downtown Indianapolis. Louisville is not going to be much different. Really, the bulk of real estate value across the country is still centered in most downtowns. So if the majority of Louisville's revenue comes from downtown, and we know that a third of the state's revenue comes from Louisville, you can see why elected officials at the state and local level are supportive of continuing to invest in projects like this in downtown. We have an amazing team assembled to guide this work. I'm probably biased because I'm on it. It is a metro project and the top priority of this mayor. He recognizes that when downtown succeeds, the city succeeds. He has really been an active participant. He comes to all the design meetings, and I really have seen firsthand that his background with hospitality and construction and historic spaces has really benefited the team and has given him kind of unique qualification to be leading this project. We have Chris Carmichael and PLC Management serving as owner's rep. Wittenberg Construction has been hired as the construction manager. You may have seen their logo on the site, the demolition site. So they were the ones that constructed it in 1973, and so they're happy to be back. Bob Haferman and Christopher Fuller with KNBA, and Metro Fleet and Facilities. So some people are surprised that this site is not under the purview of Parks and Recreation. It is under the purview of Fleet Facilities. So Mark Zoller has been a wonderful partner. He really knows all the ins and outs of the space and has been a great teammate. And then Heatherwick Studio from London. So Heatherwick Studio, probably their most famous project in the US is Little Island in New York City. Thomas Heatherwick believes that boring architecture is about the worst thing that you could create. He believes it's bad for human health. Boring buildings and public spaces deprive us of sensory information, cause stress, and tend to make us antisocial. He bases this on loads of research that has studied how people feel in certain spaces, but humans naturally respond to their environment. So Heather Wick designed spaces that make people feel good. These are more images from Little Island in New York. Places where they feel safe, happy, and welcome. Spaces that connect us to each other. You can see here the incredible creativity involved in their projects. They are exploratory green spaces that tend to blur the lines between architecture and nature. Places that evoke emotion and feelings, and places that bring people joy. If the mayor had not actually been to this site and told me that it exists, I would have thought it was AI. I really don't even know how to describe what it is. I mean, is it building? Is it outside? Is it inside? It just goes to show the type of ambitious work that they really strive for. So their work is incredibly creative and has an immersive quality meant to connect us and spark joy. So I'm about to show you the concept design that they have finished for our project here in Louisville. Some of you may have heard from recent reporting that the design I'm going to show you is not the final design that will be built. The reason I'm still showing it to you is to convey the vision and ambition that we have with this project. While it won't look exactly like this, I can promise you it won't look like any other public space you've seen before. That is simply the type of ambitious and transformational design that this team is known for. So here's the Belvedere. You can see here from this image, the entire 5.5 acre site gets sun treatment. They cover the whole scope of it. You can see the dramatic greening of this site. You can see the diversity of activities and various gathering places, and you can see the enhanced connection to the river. So if you remember me talking about the barge traffic and these dolphins down here protecting the roadway, you can understand that it's a very challenging site in which to build. So constructing something like this on that platform over the expressway would require about 40 tons of steel to reinforce it and hold that new weight. That requires very large cranes, and so very large cranes would have to be on barges. Well, anytime you have a crane on a barge, if it floods, you have to take some time to demobilize it and remobilize it, which wastes time, it costs money. We had 2 flood events last year, so that really didn't seem to be a great option. The other challenge is that because it is that busy stretch of waterway, getting permission from the Army Corps of Engineers was probably going to be a long shot when it came to having some big construction site jut out into the river. So that's why we had told them to move the focus over the garage. This design is really designed for that particular space. Kind of the edges are fluted up, and that's to block the noise of the highway. So it doesn't even make sense to take that and just put it over the garage. They really needed to start over. So we challenged them to create something magnificent over the parking garage. And if this team loves anything, it's a good challenge. So we will still improve the area over the expressway. It'll be greener and have shade, which anything is an improvement because it's basically just concrete right now. So we have priorities with this project. The first one is simply to fix what's broken. So the garage leaks, concrete is chunking off. The entire garage and highway deck need to have any of that damaged concrete repaired and reinforced. The whole site needs to get new waterproofing and then a new drainage system. So that's priority 1. Fix what's broken, make it safe and durable so that we don't end up back here in 50 years. So this is the full concept design. You can see here from this timeline, that's kind of the first marker on the timeline. Took a long time, they had to do a lot of research, get engineering reports, go through the history of the site, kind of work out the vision. So the next phase that we've entered into is schematic design. This is the perfect time for public input and feedback because we can actually incorporate some of these changes into the design. So they have the vision for it. They're going to work on a new structure that will be equally captivating, eye-catching, and viewable from the interstate and river. Then we move into design development, which starts early next year. That's going to take about 6 months. Then you go into construction document phase. That takes 9 months, and you can see that we're going to start demolition before that's finished. And that's because the early demolition and the early work is what's already been identified in the scope, which is fixing that parking garage. So the first phase of demolition in next fall of 2026, a lot of that's going to be in the garage, so you may not see it from up top. But in spring of 27, they're going to really start to turn dirt. They're going to start the work above the garage with the goal of a grand opening in 2030. That's 5 years from now. There's plenty of things that could go wrong. There's also plenty of things that could go right. So I'm going to say that we feel really good about the possibility of a 2030 grand opening. So, as part of my work, I've gone on a fact-finding mission, visiting other cities and spaces to see what seems to work, what hasn't, and what we can learn from others. I took a road trip through the hottest part of the country, including Dallas, your fair city, in the hottest time of the year. It was the end of July. It was 103 in Dallas the day I was there. But I learned a ton. Over the past 5 months, I've been to 50 parks and public spaces to learn what components of their park are the most popular, what activities are the most successful, how do they pay for construction, how do they pay for ongoing maintenance and programming, and who takes care of the parks. So many of the most successful public spaces I visited had these various components. Public art. So Louisville prides itself on our wonderful arts organization. So we want to have a space to spotlight visual art as well as performing art. The stage should be big enough to accommodate the Louisville Orchestra. The AV should be integrated. We want the space to support the broadest range of arts and cultural programs and organizations so that everyone can help us program the space. We want it to be easy for these organizations to have events at the Belvedere and affordable. The less they have to rent and bring in, the better for everybody. Water features have always been a really important part of the Belvedere's history. They've been there from day one. So I think that having an intriguing and interesting water feature will be part of the park program. Shade, we've heard loud and clear, it's really hot up there. There's too much concrete. Trees are my favorite source of shade, and I like these images because you can see that even though it's shady and you've got this nice tree canopy, you can see through it. You have really good visibility, and so that really increases people's feeling of personal safety. Play has not been a feature of the Belvedere in the past, at least not in a traditional sense, but is something that can really help bring families into this space. And for those people who still think downtown is primarily a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 type of office crowd, it is changing quickly. I cannot believe how many times I go down there and you see tourists every time you're down there. Food and beverage offers a way to encourage people to stay a while and linger. It's potential for earned revenue as well. Food trucks and carts probably make the most sense for the Belvedere. You can have a lot when we have great weather, maybe less so on a gray, dreary Monday in January. Almost all of the places I've visited are moving away from high-maintenance landscaping and into native landscaping. Pollinator meadows, rain gardens like the picture on the right, things that increase biodiversity, mitigate stormwater, and are much easier to maintain. And lastly, programming. I think this is the big one. Whether it's an outdoor screen for family movie nights or sports events, to little free libraries and welcome kiosks that share games and sports equipment, heavy programming is critical to the most successful spaces I've seen. We've also had a survey that's been open since February and will continue to stay open. I'm going to have a link to that at the end. So here you can see a snapshot basically testing whether the public thought this was needed and a good project. The overwhelming majority said, yes, the space needs renovation. Yes, we will go there more if you do that. I like this pie chart on the left a lot because it shows the diversity of things people want to see there. We really want to try to offer a broad range of activities and programming that appeal to a wide audience. The top choices so far are improved green space, outdoor performance and gathering spaces, and a better connection to the Ohio River. On the right, you can see the types of activities, and people are really opening up their mind to what type of stuff can happen down at the Belvedere. In the beginning, when it opened, it seemed like people were really just talking about festivals, because that's really all that's been down there. But now we're seeing farmers markets, different children's activities, art fairs, fitness classes, and of course, cultural events. So cultural events have always been a big part of the Belvedere, from the Heritage Weekends in the 70s and 80s to World Fest a couple weeks ago. So we want to continue to offer programming like that, which draws people from all over our community and really celebrates the best of what we have to offer. These charts are helping us see if we're getting kind of a good representation of our community with these survey responses. As a parent of 18 to 24-year-olds, I'm kind of shocked that we've gotten any 18 to 24-year-olds to take the survey, but we have, which is great. So we're getting, pretty good on the age. Gender's great. We would love to see more people of color complete the survey. And then over here, you can see method of transportation. So most people are still driving down to the site. As I mentioned, the park space is over a 2,000 car parking garage. I want it to be the nicest parking garage in downtown. I want this to be the gateway to downtown. Park at the Belvedere, come up, get something to eat or drink, check out a show at the Kentucky Center, go see a game at the Yum Center, rent a bike, a scooter, go check out the different spaces on the waterfront, Museum Row. But this should be the gateway to downtown. So through all of this research, this is the program that I've developed. It's nothing revolutionary or groundbreaking, but it is what I've seen work in other places. So we've had listening sessions. We've had 2 so far. We have another 3. We have a survey. This is all meant to gather feedback and input. Are we on the right track with this? Is this what people want to see and do here? Because success to our team looks like a lot of people down at the Belvedere, all hours of the day, all days of the week. And if we want people to show up and come use the Belvedere, we have to ask them what they actually want to do and see there. And so while I've seen this work elsewhere, I want to be sure it works here. So I have seen the power of well-done urban parks. They hold special value and potential in that they don't belong to any one neighborhood. They belong to all of us. And they have the power of pulling people from all across our community to be in a shared space together in a way in which very few other places can. So the potential for getting this right is huge, and it's totally doable. I saw it in Dallas at Clyde Warren Park. I saw it in Houston at Discovery Green. People can do this. I believe if we get these 4 things right, it will be a success. So connectivity to each other and to other places. So the Belvedere feels like it's at the end of a dead-end street right now. It has to have better connection to other spaces. The river connection is really kind of sketchy right now. The elevator never works because it goes down to River Road, which floods. So we'll stop it at the mezzanine level. We've got new ramps that connect to that multimodal path on River Road, which will connect you easily, safely, and pleasantly to Waterfront Park in the wharf, to Playport in the west. You can also easily get up through Muhammad Ali Center to West Main, a better connection to 4th Street, and of course more inviting and apparent entrance at Main Street. Activity, high variety and frequency. We really need to find things that appeal to your grandchildren, your grandmother, your cousin. I mean, every kind of demographic of the city should be able to find something down at the Belvedere for them. And sustainability. So ecologically, of course, is very important, but also financially. So when I visited Little Island, it was spectacular. And as soon as I got there, I thought, we can never have this. They have a staff of 50 people, and they have one donor who pays their annual $12 million budget. That will not be us. So let's not design something like that because we can't take care of it. So we're working now to figure out what can be paid for and backwards plan from that and design something that is really feasible to take care of and keep looking good. And then welcoming. It should have good signage and wayfinding. It should be safe, clean, inclusive, and accessible. So I really believe that at the end of the day, this is about creating a joyful place that we can all be proud of. And I hope you all will take the survey, click the QR code, take the survey, and come to our meeting. Thank you.
On up with your questions. That was wow. Can't wait for 23rd.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oops. I'm Jack Guthrie, and you talk about Heritage Weekends. How many of you remember the Heritage Weekends? Okay, what you said to me, and I think you have agreed, programming is the #1 thing. There's no doubt. You can do a whole lot, but I don't know whether it's the downtown partnership that we assigned the position of creating those activities. The Derby Festival, I was involved certainly with that. And we created a lot of things on the Belvedere, and I'm sure they still will.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, there were 13 original Heritage Weekends. And I don't know what's the financial part of this? You didn't mention, what kind of money are we looking at?
So the cost of construction, we are estimating to be $125 million. That's the budget that we've given the team. Now that includes tens of millions of dollars to fix that garage. That's priority number one.
That thing has, that garage has leaked since 1970.
It's had problems since the beginning. So all of that needs to be fixed. So that's the first priority. Those new connections to the river are expensive. That is a priority. And treating the whole park. So not just a big wow feature, but all of it needs attention. So 125 million is the budget. I plan to, and that's going to be a mix of public and private funding. So we've gotten 10 million from the city already. The mayor got 100 million from the state legislature last year for 6 different projects, so we'll get some portion of that. McConnell put 7 million in the big beautiful bill, so we will see what happens with that. There's a couple other federal funding opportunities through the Department of Transportation, maybe another one with the Department of the Interior, so we're looking at that. We do hope to get additional funding from the state. And then we'll also get a mix of corporate philanthropy, foundation support, and individual philanthropy. And as part of my fundraising task, I want to raise 10 million for an endowment. So I want half of that to be a maintenance endowment, and I want half of it to be a programming endowment. Because when you start to pay the bills, programming is the easiest thing to cut, and I don't want it cut. I think it's absolutely critical to the success of the site. So.
I could not agree more, and having experienced for years, I compliment what is being done, and compliment you, so make that programming work again.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Crawford, just wondering if there is any component in this project that might address the passability of the lane underneath the Belvedere. Because if you're like me and a cyclist or user of the local loop, that's a tough place to get through right now.
So it's changing. So there's construction right now on River Road between 3rd and 7th, and they're building a new multimodal path that is protected by huge barricades. So it's a real nice bike lane. It's on the river edge. That's from 3rd to 7th. The next phase will be 7th through 13th, I think. So it's going to take it all the way to Portland. So they've got there's a garage there now, the road curves. That's going to be a harder one. But that should start, I think, next year.
Late 26 is what they're saying.
Late 26 is what they're saying. So we've got these, I'm online, that's fine. We've got the elevator that goes down to a mezzanine, and then big ramps that you can ride your bike on to get you down to River Road. That's going to connect to all of that connectivity on the water's edge, and will be a great way for people to ride their bikes there. You will have to take an elevator to get to the top section, because if you did a bike lane or a ramp from the top all the way to the bottom, it would go to like the wharf or something. I mean, that's too long. So, but yes, I think cycling, I want this to be a great, easy place to cycle to and from. Main Street is getting a 2-way conversion, so that's going to happen. We want to connect it to 4th Street. 4th Street has plans that would be great to see happen at some point. 9th Street is getting some nice improvements. So if we can connect to some of those main corridors, it would be wonderful.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Fred Cowan, and I'm glad you touched on this, but I hope you expand. The last 6 months, I've had the opportunity to be both at Little Island in New York and at the Embarcadero in San Francisco. And both those places, and maybe Boston's like this too, because I've spent a little bit of time there, they somehow draw people to it. It's something that just people want to go to. It's not like, well, I have to remind myself to go here. And came back here in the 70s after the Belvedere was first done. And ever since that time, it's sort of been disconnected. It's been remote. It's been, hidden behind, Main Street. And so you discussed this, you touched on this, but I wonder if you could expand a little bit on how we're going to overcome that so that it is a people magnet.
Yeah. So I think there's a few things. Little Island has been a huge success. It's 70% tourists and 30% visits from New Yorkers. So it is hard to compare ourselves to cities that have huge numbers of tourists. I think tourists find the Belvedere now. I see little scooters dropped up there. I see them up there. So I do think that it will be wild and outrageous enough that anybody who comes here wants to go see it. This will make national, international news. It'll be a big, big deal. So all of those people will come see it. We will all go see it initially to check it out. My goal is to make you coming back over and over and over again, and I think that's going to be with programming. I think whatever the design is will be visible from the interstate and from the river, so that will help a little bit. But there also has to be something at Main Street, because it is behind buildings. It's kind of off the beaten path. So it's about reinforcing those connections and trying to draw more attention from River Road as well as from Main Street to get people back there. And again, heavy programming. So, thank you.
Hi, Layla, I'm Kevin Fields. I'm president of the Global Central Community Center, also a director here at Rotary, and also a member of the board of Waterfront Development Corporation. And I want to say thank you for an excellent overview. I agree with President Ken that this is a huge wow factor project for downtown, and I'm excited. And I also want to extend my support by helping to advance the survey. I heard you say you need more respondents. We'd be glad to leverage our capacity to help promote your survey and get more community engagement in general. So if there's other ways that we can help community engagement, we'd be glad to do that. We do have just a question around the from a policy lens and then from a technical lens. The park itself, as you planned it, is a huge wow factor, and I saw the graphics around having more vegetation, more trees, and you mentioned that being it can contribute to lowering the maintenance and operating costs. So my question from a policy standpoint gets into the operations. I'm sure you'll conquer the development capitalization to make it financially feasible. But from a long-range sustainability standpoint, I asked this question partly because I've heard our previous mayor talk about the deferred maintenance obligation on our overall park system. And so how do we make sure that it is feasible? And as you were visiting the cities, you were asking, how do you cover that cost and who's responsible for maintaining it? So have we answered those questions for Louisville?
Yes, so I will say that as someone who has the utmost respect for the Public Parks Department and worked very closely with them, when I go out and ask somebody for money and they're going to ask me who's going to take care of it, the city is the wrong answer. Nobody wants the city to be fully responsible for this space. You go visit the nicest parks anywhere in the country, they all have nonprofit partners who are helping to maintain them. Every single one has a nonprofit partner. So this will as well. There will be an organization tasked with taking care of this site. There will be some support from the city. There will be some support from earned revenue. So whether it's food trucks, rentals, things like that is another revenue stream. The endowment, corporate support for programming, sponsoring movie nights, different types of events like that. So it's going to be a variety of different buckets that are going to help pay for it, but that's what we're determining now. We have a consultant who we've hired who's going to come help us figure out how much can we realistically raise in a year, and then what does that mean in terms of the design.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The second part on the technical side, I'm glad that our team at Waterfront is involved with some of the technical planning. Deborah Biscuit, her team is here, and she shared some of that. And we want to just help, advance the work, expansion west, as you know, we make great for. But part of the technical question is with the deciduous nature of vegetation and the amount of it, how does that managed from an operational standpoint? Or maybe it's decided in the selection of the type of plants. But I can see a lot of foliage and even, wind damage potentially. How do we manage that or vouch for that?
Yeah, so we're not quite at that level of detail yet, but some of you may know that the American Life Building has a green roof there. They worked with Burnham to develop that. So tapping into that knowledge base, that is the exact same conditions as what the Belvedere site will be from a wind and a heat standpoint. So figuring out what plants have worked well there. And then again, sticking to kind of big clusters of native landscaping. Little Island has 500 different plants. It's like, that's too many. It's too many to take care of. It's too detailed. So having kind of large swaths of pollinator meadows, I think can really increase biodiversity, sustainability, but also minimize the area where you're cutting the grass. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today. That's very impressive. My question is, did you consider anything like the Hollywood Bowl structure for the outside venue for concerts? I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So we looked at a variety of different types of things that could be up there. Kind of a mix of interior space versus exterior space. The issue with interior space, one is we wanted it to be used all the time and we wanted it to be accessible to the public. So I didn't want to create like an event space where it was rented, 50 days a year and then sat empty the rest of the time and people couldn't really get in there. The other thing is you're outside on the river. So one of the benefits and the reason this site even exists is to take advantage of that river view. I also like very flexible spaces. So if you noticed on the pavilions that I showed, there was people just sitting there and eating lunch when events weren't happening. So having spaces, pavilions that open on both sides are kind of nice because you can program to a large audience or a small audience based on which way you go. You can have classes up there, yoga classes, things like that when it's not being used. You can also just have tables and chairs and people up there enjoying the shade. So, thank you.
Thank you for being here,
Yeah.
Layla. And first of all, we'd be remiss not to thank you for all your service to the Olmsted Parks, which are just one of the jewels of our community. And I brought up Olmsted on purpose because Olmsted Parks have been here for how long?
We first came here in 1891, so 145 years ago was when
145 years and they're still timeless. They really are. So my question to you is, as you design this and we look at the renderings that we're seeing, and I think about the Layla, or I think about Belvedere when it was built, it was dated within 10 years of the time it was built. It was 1970s aesthetic and it just didn't age well.
Yeah.
So they redid it and redid it again. What are we doing to think about how to make this aesthetic of the whole park timeless? So, in 100 years, literally,
Yeah.
people look back and say, this is still a cool place, not let's tear it down and rebuild it.
Yeah. So I think that's a really difficult nut to crack, I will say. The design that you all saw, the original design was outrageous, and it evoked a lot of emotion, I will say that. People either loved it and thought, yes, we need to think big and do something and put the city on the map, or they thought it was absolutely crazy and ugliest thing they've ever seen. So I have been intentional about not soliciting feedback where I can't use it. I will tell you right now, that design team doesn't care if I think that thing is beautiful or hideous, right? And so I'm interested more in the programming and functionality of the space. I think that design is such a relative concept. Some people may think something's beautiful and somebody else thinks it's boring. And so it's not going to be something that will ever make everybody happy, and understand that. I think Olmsted's design was really based in functionality. How do people move through the space? I mean, there's a difference between a landscape architect and an architect. I think architects design things and landscape architects design spaces. And they take into consideration the winding pathway that draws you in, and that's how you feel when you're in that space. So I hope we can accomplish a lot of that and kind of helping people find an escape within the most urban part of our community and enjoy that river view, a great place for people to take a lunch break. And so that's the best answer I have. Thank you.
Hi, Layla. Thanks for coming. Two-part question.
Yes.
One of them relates to the TIF.
Yes.
Can you participate in that? Can it
Oh,
be
I wish I
expanded?
could. So that was one thing I heard a lot about in Texas. Texas has a lot of interesting financing mechanisms, and Oklahoma City did too. So we cannot get in on that. I wish that there was a way to tap into some kind of ongoing revenue stream like that. But to my mind, I think Young would have to agree to it, which I can't imagine they would. Lots of people don't like to share.
The path that starts at the little island in
Yes.
New York, just lost it.
The Hudson River part,
The rail itself.
Yeah.
Highline.
The Highline,
Yes.
I was
Yes,
on it
yes,
last weekend, and of course it's been a huge real estate development
Yes.
and mob scene on it.
Yes.
So I remember the project that Arlie Brown and Steve Wilson had planned, the 60-story tower that's so close to you. I'm just thinking this is going to be a huge real estate opportunity.
So that has plans.
Oh,
Yes, so it's been announced, but Steve Poe is developing that site, so it's right on the other side of the Muhammad Ali Center, where that's that grassy area by the garage, and then the resurfaced lot that's on West Main. So that's gonna be a big Poe development, like a 1,000-room hotel or something. So that will bring a lot of people to the area. It's gonna be great for the Ali Center, because the Ali Center is right between the Belvedere and that. And so for people at the Belvedere to get to that hotel or to West Main, you just cut right on through there and pop out on Main.
perfect.
So it's great, yes. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for great questions. Thank you, Layla. So much. Virtually thought of everything. This is a memento of appreciation, small token. It's our four-way test. Hopefully we all live up to that. But outstanding. I can just visualize being on Belvedere watching a pop concert, beautiful sunset on the river. Come on, Barbara.
Okay.
The next 2 weeks you gotta talk about.
Oh, next 2 weeks, and I can do it in half the time that I do this every week. So, fellow Rotarians and guests, and Layla, thank you so much for that. You know, I love to say all roads lead to the library, but I also say all roads lead to Main Street, because everything you just heard really is in my backyard, where Lacey and I live. So come on down, y'all, the water's fine. All right, my objective is to link one meeting to the next meeting. So let's see if you can pick up on my little clue, my puzzle. They're going to be called puzzles, President Ken. The best darn current president that this club has ever had. All right, the puzzle clue this week. Building the Belvedere is big business. Mayor Craig Greenberg loves alliteration. So next week's speaker is Dr. Jeff Wan. He is the Professor of Computer Information Systems and Associate Dean for Programs at the College of Business with the University of Louisville. Thank you, David. I got one person laughing up front. All right. And so Dr. Jeff will be here, and it's going to be really exciting because he's going to talk about, Jay, what you should know and why you should care about AI. Okay? So go ahead, scan the QR codes and make your reservations. But then the second week, all right, week after next, go ahead and make your reservations, because Senator Mitch McConnell is going to be in the House bringing us a great message from a long history of service to this great city, this great Commonwealth, and to our nation. So, President Ken, it's all yours, buddy.
I did confirm with Dan Meskey's team yesterday. He will be here January 15th, hopefully 2 or 3 weeks after celebrating the volleyball championship. He's the coach of U of L. Had a really tough loss in Texas last night, overtime, 5-7 type thing. But Texas and Louisville and Kentucky are all still in the top 5 in the country, so we may get them back in the Final Four. All right, what is Louisville? What is Rotary? We know what Louisville is. If you all want to learn more about Rotary, the volunteers, the guests, John is heading back there, and enjoy this beautiful weekend. It's not just this weekend, it's going to be all next week, so enjoy the weather. We are adjourned.